appreciate it. So welcome to day 6 of Momentum. Building and co-creating compassionate communities is really very much at the heart of this. We meet each other, we meditate together, we share conversation, and we get to be heard and seen, and in that we grow. So it's such a delight that so many people come back day by day, and have been over virtually a year now since the whole meditation movement got started online when we went into a cocooning situation. So my name is Sue Cooper. I am based in Nottingham in England. I love to meditate, and I love being here with you all. It really is such a joy, and it feels the right thing to do at this time as well for us all. My background is 45 years of nursing. Even though I'm no longer a registered nurse, they say once a nurse, always a nurse. And at the heart of nursing is care and compassion. And that's what's infusing through this day by day. I'm also a Ayurvedic lifestyle educator from the Chopra Centre, led by Dr. Deepak Chopra, and a McLean meditation and mindfulness teacher led by Sarah McLean. So quite a bit going on, plus a load of other stuff. But for today, what we would really like to do, Suzi von Mensenkampff and I, who will be introducing herself in a minute, is to focus on the word. And each day we've had a word, and we've been looking at predominantly healing. It's about going deep. It's going deep within and finding things that maybe are deep within us. We started with courage, then we moved into fear, then we moved into forgiveness, we moved into shame, and then we moved into alignment yesterday. Today we're looking at purpose, and threading through this still is healing. So Suzi is going to lead the meditation on purpose, and then I will talk a little bit about healing towards the end of this, and we will have a beautiful session. So I'm delighted to meet everybody here, and if it's your first time, welcome. My website, as we're building momentum, has some join me in it, and starting on Monday we will be really building up to the MOMM event, which is starting at 5 o'clock on Saturday the 13th of March with a new moon activation. And then on Sunday, it's a full day of program of activation, alignment and amplification. But a bit more about that next week. We want to stay here in the present moment on purpose, with healing, with us all together in this beautiful group. So I'd like to pass you over now to Suzi von Mensenkampff, who will introduce herself to you all and start the meditation. Thanks, Suzi.
Oh, Sue, thank you so much. We just had a lovely workshop there with a lot of the regulars from this group, and we were exploring, you know, Dharma and healing, and Dharma is the Sanskrit word for purpose. And we wanted to explore it first and then move into meditation of it. So even if you weren't at the workshop, you really get the benefits from just showing up today in this practice. So why would you want to listen to me about Dharma? Well, I have been on a sort of a mission. I've definitely been on a quest. And it's probably started the day that my friend walked into my office with this book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And it just started something in me. It really stirred me up. And there's 7 laws, and there's one for each day. And today, being Saturday, is the law of Dharma. From this book and from applying the laws of the day in my own made-up way of doing it, I ended up becoming a meditator, becoming, you know, an Ayurveda lifestyle coach, becoming a yoga teacher, and going on to even learn, you know, the 7 spiritual laws of yoga. And it really started me on a path. But I think what set me off in the first place was that search, you know, that quest for what I was talking about earlier, fulfillment, looking for something and more meaning and purpose to being here. You know, having my kids and lots of parts of my life are very fulfilling. I'm not saying they weren't, but I always kind of felt that there was something more to us. There was something deeper about us. And that I always felt like maybe they weren't sharing the full truth with me, but I just hadn't had time to really, I suppose, listen, because I was juggling a lot of balls in the air, chopping wood, carrying water, bringing up kids, running a business, and so on and so forth. So I didn't really have time to meditate, and I certainly didn't have time to be rocking off over to California to Deepak Chopra for that matter. However, when you do tap into your deeper nature, your true nature, you can't miss it. You're not going to miss it when you get there, because the universe conspires to work in your favor to get you exactly to where you're supposed to be. So I think every single person here is here because this is exactly where you're supposed to be, right here, right now, in this moment, listening to good old Susie over here in Ireland. So, but I'm teaching this because I live it. I really, truly live these teachings. And as long as I'm living, I'm going to teach it, for sure. So the self-inquiry into what's my purpose, I'm surely there's more to me than this, really brought me to that point. It brought me to my knees, if I'm honest, at times. And I tried to run at times, but you know, some part of me, there was a deep intelligence within me, always bringing me back, always bringing me back. And it, honestly, if I look into it now and consider it, it's my personal practice. It's my personal practice daily keeps bringing me back. Because just like when we do a mantra practice, and I'll invite you to begin a repetition of a mantra, and I'll say to you, you know, sometimes the mantra disappears. Sometimes you'll find that you're just away in a thought in a world of your own. Sometimes you'll be just wondering about the dog barking outside the window, or wondering whether or not to scratch your knee. You know, all those things are part of your practice. And the mantra is just there to keep bringing you back and keep bringing you back from all those distractions to this moment where you're doing your practice, where you're showing up to do your meditation. And I truly believe that that's what's kept me on track and carried me through from, you know, somebody who was super stressed out doing all those things and getting landed this book in her office, to me sitting here now, you know, fast forward, this book is 2005, it says, and now 2021, I'm now teaching what's in that book. And it kind of blows my own mind when I put it that way, to be honest. So enough about me. Why are you here? You're here to meditate, and that's what I'm here to deliver. We're going to do a mantra today, and I'm putting it in the chat, right? So it's here. So you can see the written format of it. It's OM VARUNAM NAMAH. OM VARUNAM NAMAH. And that's a Sanskrit mantra for this practice of Dharma, which means my life is in harmony with cosmic law. Now, maybe you don't like the word cosmic, so you can drop that. My life is in harmony with universal law. Maybe my life is in harmony with the laws of nature. So there are these natural occurring laws. And when we start to live our lives on purpose, in the present, we start to go into the flow of our lives, for sure. So we'll use the OM VARUNAM NAMAH mantra in the practice. And you can write it down if you need to. And during the practice, if you're thinking, oh my God, I can't remember what that word beginning with V was, just simply have a little look, just to look down at where you've written it. And then you come back to thinking the mantra again. So why are we going to do a practice on Dharma, you might ask me? Well, when we meditate on the law of Dharma with the mantra that resonates with the law of Dharma, we're giving ourselves some space to discover that we have a higher self or a higher soul, or however, whatever terminology you like to use. And we're tapping into that part, that intelligence. And then we're going to do an inquiry practice, which means what are my unique gifts and talents? So that's the question we'll ask in the self-inquiry. What are my unique gifts and talents? What lights me up from the inside? And then the last part of the self-inquiry will be, well, now, how could I use those gifts and talents in service to humanity, in service to the higher, greater good? And you don't always have to figure out the answers to the questions in the practice. But you know, the fact that you're starting the dialogue today and you're starting to inquire and go in and consider, maybe in another time when you're chopping the wood and carrying the water, the answer will start to come into your mind. So we're not looking to figure out the answer in the practice. Like I always say to you, you know, we could be talking about it forever, but let's just do it now. Hopefully you've all got the mantra, OM VARUNAM NAMAH. OM VARUNAM NAMAH. And I'll keep bringing it in anyway, so don't worry about it too much. We're here to get comfortable, to relax, and to just go into this experience now of a meditation on the law of Dharma. So you know, we always begin by making sure that everything outside has been taken care of. Then once you're seated comfortably, rest your hands in your lap, your feet on the floor. And then let's scan your body ever so gently, just to notice, is there a little tension? Are you feeling a little bit stiff, any aches or pains? And whenever you notice that there's some tension like that, or maybe an ongoing thought in your mind, or a distraction in your environment, could be just you're finding it hard to settle. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a long, slow, deep breath in. Pause at the top of the breath and then really let it all go. Really sigh out the breath, fully exhaling, letting everything go. You can do it one more time. Long, slow, deep breath in. And then let it go. You can do it with your mouth open or closed, whatever feels good for you. And as we become aware that we're now started this meditation, we always begin, well, not always, but we usually begin by just checking into the sounds that are in the environment. And having that intention to draw your awareness inward. Knowing that sound is never a barrier to your practice, but we'll just start to become aware of the sounds that are more immediate. Maybe it's the sound of your breath, or maybe it's your device, your computer. Maybe it's some sounds in the adjoining rooms. And then have that intention just to draw your awareness inward and connect with the sound of your breath in its natural state. Observe how you're breathing, whether your breath is loud, faint, fast, slow. And you're not going to try and breathe in any particular way. We're just observing it in its natural state now. And this is the first focus, focusing on your breath. And now that you're giving yourself permission to slow down everything and relax, you can soften your belly, allow your shoulders to move down and away from your ears. Allow your hands to feel heavier, maybe as they sit on your lap. In this practice, we come into a nice deep state of relaxation as we activate the restful awareness response, moving out of doing into being. Simply be, simply breathe. And becoming aware now of your heart. And feel the gentle movement of the breath around your heart, connected to your lungs, your rib cage. There's a gentle movement across your chest. Connecting with this heart-centered breath now. And it's here we're going to ask those soul questions that I talked about at the beginning. The questions are simply just a seed of intention without looking for any particular answer in the practice. So just silently to yourself, asking now, who am I? Who am I? Planting the seed in your heart. What do I want? What do I really, really want? And again, letting go of the question. And the real question for today's practice is the next one, which is, what is my Dharma? What is my purpose in life? You can expand into a few more questions here. How can I help? How can I serve myself and others using my unique gifts and talents? How can I serve myself and others using my unique gifts and talents? And don't worry about answering this one now, just plant the seed in the heart. And we'll ask one more question here. Would I do what I'm doing now if I had all the money in the world and all the odds stacked in my favor? Would I do what I'm doing now? And then following it up with, or is there something else? Or is there something else? And let's let go of the questions now. And we'll take a breath to release the questions, okay? So let's take a breath in. And as you breathe out, I want you to just visualize that you're releasing all of those questions, all of this dialogue into the universe. And we're going to trust that the universe will take care of the details. So we can simply let them go now. We've asked. And we'll wait patiently for the answers to meet those questions when we are ready to hear them. So I invite you into a mantra practice now, using the mantra that resonates with the law of Dharma. And it's OM VARUNAM NAMAH. OM VARUNAM NAMAH. My life is in harmony with cosmic law or universal law. OM VARUNAM NAMAH. Now the repetition of this mantra is easy and relaxed. You don't want to force too hard or concentrate too hard, because at times you're going to fade away, the mantra will fade out altogether. simply a faint idea. Om Varunam Namah. So imagine yourself now floating in the middle of this still pond. And you're just seeing or feeling the mantra as you would the fog at the morning rising off that still lake or pond. It's that effortless. Om Varunam Namah. So continuing like this while I'm watching the time, seeing yourself now just floating, basking in awareness, hearing the mantra moving into your awareness from the distance and fading out again into the distance. Continue like this till you hear the chime. Om Varunam Namah. Om Varunam Namah. Release the repetition of the mantra for Dharma, OM VARUNAM NAMAH, and continue with your eyes closed. Simply bask now in your own awareness. Rest in being. And as we begin to move towards the end of this practice, I invite you now just to repeat these commitments to yourself in terms of moving into Dharma. So to commit to your Dharma requires that you daily seek out your higher self, which means to come into your meditation practice. Then the next part is to discover and express your unique gifts. Start asking yourself, what am I really, really good at? What are my unique gifts and talents? And then when you've figured out what your gifts are, maybe you can consider, how can you best serve? How can you use your gifts and talents to serve humanity? And the real commitment that is required from you today as we come to the end of the practice is to continue to show up for yourself and to keep asking your soul for guidance. Simply keep coming back again and again. And staying where you are now in this lovely state of restful awareness, I'm going to hand you over to Sue, who's just going to take you into a few more steps of deep healing.
Staying in this place of centered awareness. Healing requires a few steps. The first one is opening. Opening like a flower to the potential to be full mind, body, spirit, emotionally. Opening slowly. And in this opening slowly, we center by taking our attention to the heart, to the heart space and trusting. Trusting in the fullness and beauty of this life. And accepting everything. And then making choices again as we go back into the process of opening slowly, centering, trusting and accepting. And this is the power to live a life of fullness and a life of freedom. Freedom to be yourself in all its glory and all its magnificence. So sense into this expansion. This sense of freedom to be. Freedom to be me. So we start to bring ourselves slowly centered, trusting back into this space of groundedness. So very slowly, I invite you to feel your feet on the floor, to feel your seat and your back in the chair, or wherever you're being held safely, to wiggle your fingers and toes, to start to energize. Just a little, energize. Be very careful and mindful as we start to come back here and energize. Wiggling our fingers and toes. Giving gratitude to yourself for being here. A smile on the lips, a smile on the eyes, a deep smile. Really feeling that infusion of warmth within. And taking a deeper breath. A longer, slower, deeper breath. With gratitude for this breath. Knowing that you are giving yourself time and space, not only to heal, but to take time out to fulfill the awareness of purpose. To live a life in fullness and freedom. It's there for all of us. We simply have to tune in. So breathing deeper, maybe rubbing our hands together, and then having a mindful stretch when you're ready, keeping your eyes closed. A mindful stretch. And then bringing your hands down to prayer position. Staying where you are, slowly opening your eyes to your hands. And then when you're ready, let's simply look up and greet each other with a namaste. And as we're coming round gently, I have a little story to tell you. So listen with Mom. Stay in this place, but this is beautiful. And it's called Life in a Jar. When things in your life seem almost too much to handle, when 24 hours in a day are not enough, remember the mayonnaise jar and the 2 cups of coffee. A professor stood before his philosophy class and had some items in front of him. When the class began, he wordlessly picked up a very large empty mayonnaise jar and proceeded to fill it with golf balls. He then asked the students if the jar was full. They agreed that it was. The professor then picked up a box of pebbles and poured them into the jar. He shook the jar lightly. The pebbles rolled into the open areas between the golf balls. He then asked the students again if this jar was full. They agreed it was. The professor next picked up a box of sand and poured it into the jar. Of course, the sand filled up everything else. He asked once more if the jar was full. The students responded with a unanimous yes. The professor then produced 2 cups of coffee from under the table and poured the entire contents into the jar, effectively filling up the empty space between the sand. The students laughed. Now, said the professor, as the laughter subsided, I want you to recognise that this jar represents your life. The golf balls are the important things, your family, your children, your health, your friends, and your favourite passions. And if everything else was lost and only they remained, your life would still be full. The pebbles are the other things that matter, like your job, your house, and your car, and so on. The sand is everything else, the small stuff. If you put the sand into the jar first, he continued, there is no room for the pebbles or the golf balls. The same goes for life. If you spend all your time and energy on the small stuff, you will never have room for the things that are important for you. Pay attention to the things that are critical for your happiness. Play with your children. Spend time with your parents. Take your spouse out to dinner. Play another 18. Take time to get medical checkups. There will always be time to clean the house and fix the vacuum cleaner. Take care of the golf balls first, the things that really matter. Set your priorities. Life is not a dress rehearsal. The rest is just sand. One of the students raised her hand and inquired what the coffee represented. The professor smiled. I'm glad you asked. It just goes to show you that no matter how full your life may seem, there's always room for a cup of coffee with a friend. Setting our priorities. So I would like to thank you so much. Susie, I'd love you to say a few words and close. Thank you.
I love that, Sue. I love that. I love the golf balls. Yeah, you know, don't sweat that small stuff, you know, it'll be there. It'll be still there tomorrow, which is why my laundry basket has been waiting by the door for about 2 days to go out. But anyway, yeah, today was really special when we did the workshop and what we've been doing in this practice. And I think it's really important for our personal development and for our spiritual development to give some time for the contemplation part, so we can do the meditation practice, and that really sets us up very nicely. But you also need some spaciousness some of the days, not every day, but some days, just to contemplate some of these questions, to write them down and to journal about them, and just to explore it a bit more, because the more you're coming into the meditation practice, you really are moving from the conditioned, constricted parts into what we call like expanded awareness. And to that expanded part, then you're moving from that ego, as we were talking in death of the ego, into spirit. And then you start to figure it out, like, well, when I'm doing this, I love what I'm doing, I lose all track of time, and then I get to help and serve other people, whatever that is, you know, but we need sometimes some time to contemplate these things. So I hope we gave you some space for that today, and today's momentum with purpose. And I think that was really a really good kind of way to finish it too. So it's an ongoing process, you know, as I always say, it's not an intellectual process, but it does need your attention and it does need your focus at times. And that, you know, the focus of the meditations are what's going to move you out of that limitations into that expanded. And just you're creating these new neural networks for this, all these new parts to come in. So it's like preparing the ground. So we should stop the recording probably now and move into some chat.